Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, President of Performance Strategies and Diane Bogino Development. Our guest today is Tonia Morris. Tonia is the founder and CEO of Simply HR, Inc., a consulting firm specializing in helping organizations create cultures leveraging diversity and inclusion for competitive advantage. A business executive with over 25 years experience in diversity, inclusion, and human resources, she has held executive positions for companies ranging in size from 100 million to 32 billion. Tonia is a well-sought-after keynote speaker for diversity and generational inclusion and is a professional member of the National Speakers Association. She is co-author of Compassionate Work, Creating Workplaces that Engage the Human Spirit. Tonia was presented with the prestigious Stevie Award, a top international business award for women in business, and she was named Maverick of the Year for helping organizations create inclusive workplaces. Tonia Morris, welcome to Business Notes.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because we've known each other a long time and we've been trying so hard to get together to do this. So
Yes.
So let's start out by, I want to talk about why you started Simply HR, Inc.
You know, and a lot of people ask me, it's been almost a decade now, a little bit over a decade now. And, you know, I spent my whole career in human resources, but I saw something as an executive director of a human resource organization. I saw a shift and I saw the dynamics of the workplace changing. You know, and so for now, the first time in our history, we got 5 generations working side by side. And I can remember when the younger generation were coming in, the Gen X or pretty much the millennials. And I would go to the leadership team and say, you gotta pivot. We gotta do something different. They didn't know what I was talking about. And so I was just curious. And so I did a lot of research. And then I became a professional speaker and I spoke on the changing workforce, the multi-generation, they're here, the millennials, right? And I got, I was booked a lot to speak. And so I was really curious, but I didn't like how some organizations were not embracing this different generation. They were not. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to be a real change agent, I need to be about change. So I transitioned out. And I said I was going to help small businesses have a competitive advantage, right? Because I saw a lot of shift in the workforce. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to keep HR simple and simplistic because I wanted to be about the processes and the people. That is what I wanted. And so I came out and I started doing a lot of stuff on millennials, but then I realized that the baby boomers were not leaving like everybody thought they were. And then it was a shift. So the millennials were coming and they were coming in large numbers. And so I knew that millennials, there was a divide. There was a younger millennials and there was a older millennials as well. And so that's how it all started. But I love human resources. I love people. I love processes. And I really wanted to be a catalyst for the workforce today, because as we know, the workforce has changed now. And I wanted to be on the cutting edge of change. And so that's how it birthed.
Wow. Yeah. And now we got Gen Z coming in and they're going to be even larger than the millennials. So there's going to be a long stretch of those as well. So yes. Yeah, you've got your work cut out for you.
And I'm ready for it because I'm so passionate about it. I do my own research. I do focus group because, I have 2 boys. I have a millennial and a Gen Z. And so I'm hanging around them all the time. They're keeping me young, right? Because I'm a Gen X, right? And then my husband's a baby boomer. So we got 4 generations in the workplace. So at our house, conversations are different. So I do a lot of focus groups and just get in the heads of the different generations. So that's why I'm so curious about it, but that's why I'm passionate about it as well.
Right. And you do work around diversity and inclusion and belonging. So tell our viewers, why is that so important?
Well, I believe, let me just start, I call it DIBS, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, right? I believe that oftentimes we throw that word diversity out there, right? And a lot of people just don't know what that is. And then for those who do know, they think it's compliance, it's hard, right? And then they think that it's black and white and that's it, right? So my thought process is if we're going to have inclusive workforces or workplaces, I should say, we got to understand diversity comes in so many different facets, right? So I believe that, and I've seen, and I know for a fact that organizations that are really keen and really have an awareness and understanding what diversity is, and I always say diversity is invited to the party, and then inclusion is asked to dance. And then we have this other piece that we leave off, which is belonging. Because everybody want to belong. And so I have this slogan called, can we all get along so we can belong? And when I survey employees, they always say, I feel like I don't belong. It's because, number one, a lot of organizations don't really make that a priority of what diversity is, how we're going to include them so everyone can belong. So it's an ingredient that should come together. And I just think right now we will have powerful workplaces if we really own D&I space. So that's why I do a lot of work around that. And I do a lot of work around G&I. And people say, well, what in the world is G&I, right? And I coined that, and I said G&I is generational inclusion. Because we know we have four generations in the workplace, and we need to all get along.
That's right.
So we can belong.
That's right. So the work you do around multi-generational, you're known as a generational connector. So
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference to our viewers about that?
The generational connectors. Okay, so my thought with that is that we have a multi-generation, right? And I know that we come to work for different reasons. So our work expectations are different. Our communication styles are different. Our motivations are different, right? And I found that a lot of organizations, a lot of employees in the organization, they focus on the differences, right? And I think we need to be aware of the differences when they come down to talking about the different generations. But I think we also need to elevate and leverage and amplify our commonalities. So I am known as a generational connector because I bring all the generations together. And I bring them together because we focus on stereotypes and unconscious biases and beliefs, but I really want us to start focusing on our commonalities. And so that's why I like to do the multi-generation work, because I want to get different generations in the workplace talking and understanding one another so we can all get along.
That's right. That's right. So give us a few ideas, Tonia, about what organizations can do to create that inclusive workplace.
Well, I really think that right now, I believe that we have to start being aware. First of all, let me just give you, I got a care model that I think that I can give you guys just a little bit, the care. I think we have to care. And you may say, well, Tonia, that is so simple. Let me just break it down. The C is for we got to be committed to diversity. You got to have it in your business model. You got to have it in your recruitment. You have to be committed. It has to not be just a statement, but committed to the action that it takes to bring an inclusive workplace together. That's the first thing. Then we have to acknowledge that we can do better. I talk to organizations all across, and it's like, you know what, Tonia, it's a male dominant. I just talked to a manufacturing company, and they said, well, this is not an attractive job for women. We have to acknowledge that we got to do better, right? And then we have to respect the differences. That's the R. We have to respect that we all have differences, but we still have commonality. So we got to recognize that as well and respect it. And the last one is empathize. We need empathy now more than anything. That's where the care. And I thought about it, and I said, I don't want to come up with this little foo-foo stuff. I want us to really, I really want us to really think about how we can make coming to work a great experience for everyone. And the word that I meditated on it was care. We have to care. And that's what I came on. That's my care model. And I teach people how to do those different components of it, but that's what organization can start doing.
That's right. And that's a great model. I really like that. So tell us, what do you think this situation we're in right now with COVID has done to help elevate the HR department? You know as well as I do, we've both been in HR, that HR is not always thought of as the favorite place, but I think it's becoming more important than ever. What are your thoughts around that?
You know, COVID and the racial uprise and everything that's going on has really put some lenses on HR. I'm gonna do a post this weekend on 2020, the perfect vision, and I want to know what you see. Stay tuned to that. But what I see, just to give you a little tidbit of it, I do believe that for the first time, HR is becoming a critical component, and it's really exposing strategicness as opposed to tacticalness, right? And so I tell people all the time, the employees that you had in January are not the same employees you have today. Absolutely, right? And we're not the same people. So it's going to take courageous leadership in HR to make this work, right? So we're got a lot of balls in the air. We got to figure out from a budget standpoint how we stay profitable, to keep our doors open. How do we keep employees? How do we keep our products and services moving? Because all of that has impacted, and it takes an HR person that is really strategic. We talked about being at the table. The table has arrived. The table has arrived.
That's right.
And our leaders are depending on us to really come up with some creativity, some innovation that we need. We need that. And so my word is for that. We need courageous leadership, because what used to work is not working. Business as usual is not working. Leading as usual, doing HR as usual does not work. But we got to have some care in there as well too. So we are really, I think we are going to be the ones that help shape this new normal, if you will. We're going to be the one that brings some more new innovation and creativity as well. So we have an opportunity as HR professionals to really craft the new workforce. I've been saying for the longest that employees and employers have a different relationship. Now it's time for us to bridge that gap, because it's a gap.
That's right.
So I think we have a huge responsibility.
That's right. Yeah. Talk about change. You mean, we've talked about change before, but you ain't seen nothing yet, right?
Yes, exactly right.
And where can we find the post for your article you just mentioned?
Well, I'm gonna post it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I probably will push it out on Monday, because I really want us to start thinking. And you know, a lot of our employees are fearful. They got a lot of anxieties, a lot of uncertainties, and that's where the courageous leadership is going to have to rise up. But my question to the leadership or to the HR community is, what do you see? And I'm going to talk about what I see, because 2020, yes, there's some things that happen and it's not, good or what have you. But how do we move forward? And in order for you to move forward, you got to see with a clear vision. And so I want to help us, because we got a couple more months through this year. It's been a year for all of us. We've all been blindsided. But if we can see clearly what 2020 has done, we can move forward into the next year, because we're going to need that clarity to move forward.
That's right, because this is going to continue on into 2021. And you talked about courageous leadership. First of all, a good leader does not bury their head in the sand and ignore issues. And so you do have to be a strong leader, but you must address the issues on that table that you talked about. That table has been set up, and now we have to sit around it and address the issues.
And you're absolutely right. And I do a lot of inclusive conversation dialogues with leaders, CEOs around the table. And we talk about these hard conversations, because going back to diversity and inclusion and equity, we don't want to talk about it. It baffles me that for years, it seems as if D&I has been on the back burner. And I know there are some people out there have been doing a great job, but now it is in front of us. It's been amplified. So the question is, how are we going to turn this into a positive? And we have to, again, the care model helps with that, but we have to have these conversations. I've had leaders that They don't want to have the difficult conversation. They don't know what to say. And I help guide them through that. And so courageous leaders going to have to want to know that. But what I also tell my leaders when I am coaching them and working a round table with leaders, you got to lead from the heart. Diversity right now, you leading that from the heart. It's a heart thing.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm writing a
is.
book about that. It's a heart thing.
And when is that coming out? When is your book coming out?
Probably towards the end of the year.
All right. That's great. So this will be your second book. I mentioned your first book in the intro, so good for you. I love the fact that you are going to be talking to leaders about how to handle this. I think that's great. They need that, Tonia. Very good. And then you got 2 awards, one for being a maverick, which I know you are. I love that. But you also tell us about the Stevie Award.
You know, the Stevie Award is an international business award for women in business. And I didn't know some of my clients, I guess, wrote up an article about me. So I went to the women's conference. It's attached to the Stevie Award. And they recognize women all over the country, right? So I spoke at this conference last year in New York. And they told me I was going to be a finalist. I'm like, okay, I didn't know what to expect. So when I got there, it was thousands of women all over the country, right? And they were getting, you know, awards in different categories. And I've been doing generation stuff for over a decade. I'm just passionate about it. And when they called my name, I almost passed out because they said I was a Maverick of the Year for doing all the work with small to medium-sized organizations. So it was a great honor to get that. It really was. I was just blown away. I just couldn't put words because I went there thinking, okay, I'm gonna be a speaker at the conference, and then they had the gala the next night, that Friday night. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And there was a lot of women there, and I'm, oh my God, this is real. This is almost like the Grammys.
Well deserved, I'm sure. Now I've got your contact information in the rolling credits, but what's the best way for people, our viewers, to get a hold of you?
You definitely can first visit our website, simplyhrinc.com, and there's a lot of information about us being a catalyst for change, and you know, a lot of that information and our diversity work. But you also can see me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well, but LinkedIn is where I play right there. I'm always posting stuff. That's my home, and I really believe that's where the voice needs to be, is on LinkedIn.
Right. Tonia, your passion is obvious, and I love it. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the show today.
I really appreciate you just, you know, allowing me to just talk about some topics that we hear a little bit about, but it's a lot of work, and HR is very busy. But I say to all my HR listeners, the table is upon us right now. So it depends on how you eat at the table is going to determine how we just manifest what's to come, I should say.
Right. Well, I'll look forward to doing more of these. Thank you so much, Tonia.
Absolutely. Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with Tonia Morris, founder and CEO of Simply HR. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.